Canto 2, Chapter 6, Text 27.
Say that again.
The next verse in the Bhagavatam from what we read yesterday. So Canto 2, Chapter 6, Text 27. I'll do a screen share. Okay. And if one person can unmute to respond. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Gateya.
Gataya.
Gataya.
Progress. Oh, Gateya. Mateya.
Mataya.
Cha.
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 Eva.
Eva.
Prayaschitam.
Prayaschitam.
Samarpanam.
Samarpanam.
Purusha.
Purusha.
Avayavai.
Avayavai.
Ete.
Ete.
Sambara.
Sambara.
Sambrita.
Sambrita.
Maya.
Maya.
Gatayo Matayaschaiva.
Gatayo Matayaschaiva.
Prayaschitam Samarpanam.
Prayaschitam Sarvarpanam.
Purushavai Yaverete.
Purushavaya Verite.
Sambara Sambrita Maya.
Sambara Sambrita Maya.
Gatayo Matayaschaiva.
Gatayo Matayaschaiva.
Prayaschitam Samarpanam.
Prayaschitam Samarpanam.
Purushavaya Verite.
Purushavaya Verite.
Sambara Sambrita Maya.
Sambara Sambrita Maya.
Gatayo Matayaschaiva.
Gatayo Matayaschaiva.
Prayaschitam Samarpanam.
Prayaschitam Samarpanam.
Purushavaya Verite.
Purushavaya Verite.
Sambara Sambrita Maya.
Sambara Sambrita Maya. Gatayo Matayaschaiva.
Gatayo Matayaschaiva.
Prayaschitam Samarpanam.
Prayaschitam Samarpanam.
Purushavaya Verite.
Purushavaya Verite.
Sambara Sambrita Maya.
Sambaya Sambrita Maya.
Gatayo Mataschaiva.
Gatayo Matayaschaiva.
Prayaschitam Samarpanam.
Prayaschitam Samarpanam.
Purushavaya Verite.
Purushavaya Verite.
Sambara Sambrita Maya.
Sambara Sambrita Maya.
Gatayo Matayaschaiva.
Gatayo Matayaschaiva.
Prayaschitam Samarpanam.
Prayaschitam Samarpanam.
Purushaya Virite Sambhara Sambritamaya
Sambara Sambritamaya Gatayo Matayaschaiva
Gatayo Matyasyaiva
Prayaschitam Samarpanam
Prayaschitam Samarpanam
Purushavaya Verete
Purushaya Virite
Sambara Sambritamaya
Sambhara Sambritamaya
Gatayo Matayaschaiva
Gatayo Matyasyaiva
Prayaschitam Samapanam
Prayaschitam Samarpanam
Pushavaya Verite
Purushavaya Virite
Sambala Sambritamaya
Sambhara Sambritamaya
Gatayo Matayaschaiva
Gatayo Matayaschaiva
Prayashchittam Samarpanam
Prayaschitam
Samarpanam
Purushavaya Varite
Purushavaya Virite
Sambara Sambritamaya
Sambhara Sambritamaya
Gayato Matayaschaiva
Gatayo Matyasyaiva
Prayaschitam Samarpanam
Prayaschitam Samarpanam
Purushavaya Verite
Shavaya Virite
Sambara Sambritamaya
Sambhara Sambritamaya
Gatayo Matayaschaiva
Gatayo Matyasyaiva
Prayashchitam Samarpanam
Prayaschitam Samarpanam
Purushavaya Verete
Purushavaya Virite
Sambara Sambritamaya
Sambhara Sambritamaya
Gataya. Someone can-
Gataya.
Thank you. Progress to the ultimate goal, Vishnu.
Progress to the ultimate goal, Vishnu.
Mataya,
Mataya.
worshipping the demigods.
Worshipping
The
demigods.
demigods.
Cha,
Cha.
as also.
As also.
Ava,
Eva.
certainly.
Certainly.
Prayaschitam,
Prayaschitam.
compensation.
Compensation.
Samarpanam,
Samarpanam.
ultimate offering.
Ultimate offering.
Purusha,
Purusha.
the personality of Godhead.
The personality of Godhead.
Avayavai,
Avayavai.
from the parts of the body of the personality of Godhead.
From the
From the parts of the body of the personality of Godhead.
Ete,
Ete.
these.
These.
Sambara,
Sambara.
the ingredients.
The ingredients.
Sambrita,
Sambrita.
were arranged.
Were arranged.
Maya,
Maya.
by me.
By me.
Translation. Thus, I had to arrange all these necessary ingredients in paraphernalia of sacrifice from the personal bodily parts of the personality of Godhead. By invocation of the demigods' names, the ultimate goal, Vishnu, was gradually attained. And thus, compensation and ultimate offering were complete. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Jai.
Jai. In this verse, special stress is given to the person of the Supreme Lord and not to his impersonal Brahma Gyoti. as being the source of all supplies. Narayana, the Supreme Lord, is the goal of sacrificial results, and therefore the Vedic hymns are ultimately meant for attaining this goal. Human life is thus made successful by pleasing Narayan and getting entrance into the direct association of Narayan in the spiritual kingdom of Vaikuntha. Om Agyanat Mirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvashesha Sunyavadi Paschacha De Satarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I just read, so this purport says that human life is made successful by pleasing Narayan. The Vedic hymns are ultimately meant for attaining this goal of Narayan. And I just read that in a purport in Srimad Bhagavatam purport that prayers of Queen Kunti, that Prabhupada saying that Krishna gets more pleasure, is more pleased by the chastisement of Mother Yashoda, for example, rather than the Vedic hymns, than Brahmins chanting Vedic hymns. So chanting the Vedic hymns, these sacrifices, so this is Lord Brahma arranging a sacrifice, so maybe it's a different category, but the purpose of all I will take off screen share soon. Thank you. The purpose of all these sacrifices is to please Krishna, please Narayan, please Vishnu. And so the chanting of the Vedic hymns, fire sacrifice, these offerings, they're meant to be pleasing. And at the same time, Narayan is most pleased by his devotees and the love and affection, spontaneous love and affection, especially like Mother Yashoda. She's not even thinking of Krishna as the Supreme Lord. And okay. So the Vedic hymn, so this is sacrifices, so it's a recommended process, fire sacrifices and chanting of the demigods' names to gradually attain Vishnu. And so that's a process, and it's not recommended for us in this age, but you can still see a fire sacrifice or attend a fire sacrifice. I've attended some fire sacrifices at the local temple or for a different samskar, grain ceremony like that. And I was hearing the fire sacrifice, and okay, we're chanting, okay, that's a demigod's name, chanting another demigod's name, and here's another demigod's name, and okay, more demigods' names, more demigods. When do we get to Krishna? When do we get to Vishnu? When do we get the names of Vishnu? And then one particular that I was, grain ceremony that I was attending, it's like, oh, what? I was thinking, what's the purpose of this? What are we doing here? And then finally at the end, I think we got to some names of Krishna, names of Vishnu. I was like, okay, that's interesting. So Prabhupada, when he I think it was the Vrindavan temple, or a temple in India, and he was wanting to install the deities, and he arranged for Brahmins, the local Brahmins, to come and do sacrifices and yagnas, and the way that they customarily would do in India, and he kind of told the devotees aside, like, chanting Hare Krishna is the real installation. That's the real sacrifice. This is he was doing that in order that the Brahmins, the locals, would take him seriously, because that's what they were used to. That's what they were customarily used to, and that's their tradition. So he was doing that to please the Brahmins, the local Brahmins. And I think that's probably what's happening in the temples today. So we're wanting to please a certain kind of population. So there's fire sacrifices that are happening. So I think in the previous verse, Prabhupada says that, let's see, how do I go to the previous one? So the previous verse in the purport, Prabhupada says that any such sacrifice undertaken in this age as a matter of show may simply be a cheating process by the clever priestly order. So you can take that into consideration. So can't go back to the 127. So so the process of approaching demigods to gradually attain Vishnu, Krishna, it's not recommended for us. And we can kind of think demigod worship like, oh, we don't do demigod worship. I'm not arranging a fire sacrifice for Lord Indra, like the cowherd men in Vrindavan in the pastime of Govardhan Hill. So they were arranging a sacrifice to please Lord Indra so that they could get rains, to get rain for their crops and for their fields. And so we can think like, well, I'm not arranging fire sacrifice. I'm not offering oblations to any certain demigod, but we can take a look at how we may be performing demigod worship or coming from that conception. And basically, demigods are jiva souls, mostly, for the most part. Jiva souls that are operating at a position, they're administrative position, and they may be very pious and heavenly and exalted and powerful. For example, Lord Indra or any demigod is inconceivably powerful in the responsibility that they have, and their position is kind of inconceivable in terms of the power that they have and how they have attained that position. At the same time, they're a jiva soul, and they're holding an administrative position, and their nature, their tattva, the truth, their truth of their nature is the same qualitatively as us, as you and I. And so it's distinct from Vishnu tattva. So Vishnu, Krishna, is an absolute nature, absolute truth. And so qualitatively we're similar to the demigods. And so we could look at anyone that's holding a important position, and if we put any faith or trust or if we're following any person, any jiva soul in a position of authority or power, and they're not directly connected to the Guru Parampara, to Krishna, then we're engaging in some kind of demigod worship, and some kind of process other than what's recommended for this age. So we could any kind of material solution. Maybe we're not offering oblations to please Lord to Lord Indra, but the farmers may pray for rain, or we may looking for some kind of money solution to our problems. There's a demigod in charge of that. I think Varuna, the king of lord of wealth, but there's a demigod in charge of that. And so if we're looking for good health, looking good health to solve our problems, or if we're looking for some kind of material solution to our problems, there's a demigod that's in charge of that. And so, and we can look at what's happening now. So there's a worldwide pandemic. And so there's there's a narrative, or there's the people that are in charge or whatever. There's a kind of the mainstream version of here's what's happening, here's what we need to do, here's the events as they're unfolding. And then we can trust those people in authority. They're people, powerful people, for sure. Whether they're demigods or demons or whatever, they're powerful jiva souls and they're in positions of authority. We can put our faith in them, and then our trust in them. And then there's like an alternative perspective. So now there's conspiracy theories, documentaries coming out. Plandemic. We've probably seen Plandemic being shared around on Facebook. So then here's an alternative perspective. Okay, take a look at this. You can put your faith and trust in those people who are giving the Plandemic conspiracy that, whatever that is. And then don't worry, because then there could be another documentary that will refute Plandemic. So now you're seeing that being shared around. So then there's people sharing, going through Plandemic and refuting all of the points in Plandemic. And so there's a response to that. And then I'm sure there'll be a response to that by the other side. So you can kind of be bewildered by these powerful people putting out powerful messages that we can trust and shape. And you can see the people in general, us, we can look at how we're affected by the different kinds of information coming out, different kind of documentaries or perspectives coming out in the world matters. We can look at how we're affected, but you can see the people in general, that there's a trend that I'm noticing of more people who usually wouldn't be getting into those kind of things are getting into those kind of things. My mom sent me a video of Dr. Fauci and his previous employee, this kind of conspiratory thing. And Dr. Fauci's director of allergy and infectious diseases in America. And so he's a powerful position. He's a jiva soul in a powerful position. And so some people have put their faith in Dr. Fauci, and then here's the other side to don't put your faith in Dr. Fauci, put your faith in whatever this person doing this documentary is telling you to put your faith in. Don't put your faith in Dr. Fauci. Do this other demigod, this other powerful jiva soul, and so or these other group. So it can be confusing. So like, I was speaking to my mother. She's like, "Oh yeah, I haven't fact checked this. I'm not sure if I fact checked this, or what's really the truth." And I was just thinking, I was like, "Well, Mom, there's really no truth anymore. There's really no truth anymore. You can just find whatever you want to prove whatever point you want. You can find whatever kind of resource, and actually, the only truth is God. That's the only truth." And she was appreciating that. And she's like, "Yes, you're so right. My mom's pious and like that." So she was appreciating that. And but we'll find people more so that tend to this kind of thing, that are getting into questioning and doubting the constructs of society and these institutions and these demigods that we've put in charge and that we're putting our faith in and trust in these institutions. So they'll see people that are will start to reject this form of following. And so then it's like, well, where's the shelter? Where's the real shelter? And I was speaking to someone in the community that many of us know, maybe everyone on this call knows. And, she was sharing about what's happening, people waking up, and it's kind of this idea of authority and truth is crumbling, and she can get it. She's into the conspiracies and getting into stuff like that, and what's the real truth, kind of questioning everything now. And she was sharing how she's always been satisfied previously with kind of a loose spirituality, a loose, not well-defined spirituality. And now she's getting, she was appreciating me. Oh, you know what you are. You're a Hare Krishna. I didn't identify like, I know what I am. I'm a Hare Krishna. But she was saying that like, you know what you have. You have something solid. You're a Hare Krishna. And she's like now more than ever thinking, I need something solid. I need this loose kind of spiritual woo-woo thing. It's not going to really hold me. It's not going to sustain me. It's not going to give me the shelter that I need. And so she was wondering, what would that be? So this person, I could never imagine them saying those words like that, just based on my experience with them. And then she was sincere. And so we'll see that more and more, I think, that people are opening up to new paradigms and doubting institutions and things that they put trust and faith in. And so here we can come with the solution. It's our responsibility to come with the solution, so that actually there's only one absolute truth. There's only one way to find the truth. And there's one way that's recommended now, is to bypass all those seemingly places of authority and leadership and go to the real boss. You ask to speak to the supervisor. Whenever there's a problem, you ask to speak to the supervisor. There's a meme going around about Karen. Karen's like this white woman archetype who always wants to speak to the supervisor and always has a problem. So we could be like Karen. We want to speak to the supervisor. I want to speak to your boss. And so there's a problem happening now. And there's always a problem, but there's a big problem now. It's apparent. So we want to speak to the supervisor. Who's really in charge of this? And we want to get to who's really responsible. Like who's the boss of the boss of the boss of the boss. And so that's what this verse is saying. And so in previous ages, there was a recommended process to get to the boss and to please him. And but now for us, we want to go directly to Krishna, directly take shelter of Krishna. And so let me go back to the verse. Actually, I don't know if I lost the verse somehow. Let me go back to this. So I think Brahma is saying it's compensation. The compensation was complete. And so sacrifice, it's a universal, in religion, you can see religion, spiritual process, sacrifice, this idea of sacrifice is universal. And it's offering. Brahma says compensation was complete. Prayaschchitam, compensation, ultimate offering, samarpanam. Ultimate offering, compensation was completed. So we give sacrifice as a gift, as compensation, as offering, because Krishna is giving us so much. Prabhupada said, I just read that this is somewhere, that quote, Krishna is giving you so much. There was one class he was giving, it was very touching, that the way he was saying it, like Krishna is giving you so much, you're so ungrateful. You're not saying thank you. You're not giving anything back. He's giving you so much. The air, you're breathing, food, your body. He's giving you everything. And what are you giving him? And so we really don't have anything to give or to offer. Everything is his. So we're saying, oh, Krishna, I know this is your fruit. I have nothing to offer. You're giving me everything. I have nothing to offer. Everything is yours. I'm giving you this fruit. It's even yours. But here, please take it. This is with love and devotion, and that's most pleasing to Krishna. The Vedic hymns can be chanted in a proper way with a certain enunciation and accent and meter, and that can be pleasing, but most pleasing is like Mother Yashoda chastising Krishna for breaking the butter pot and scolding him and chasing him with the a spoon to teach him a lesson. She didn't want to. First, she saw the butter. She wanted to laugh. She wanted to just, he broke the butter pot. Oh, Krishna. And then she said, oh, but wait, he needs to learn a lesson. The good parents, will say, oh, I don't want to do this. I'm doing this for your own good, right? This hurts me more than it hurts you. I don't want to do this, but I need to do this for your own good. So Mother Yashoda is coming from that place, like, okay, I don't want to, this is, he's just a cute little boy, but he needs to learn because he's been going into other gopis' houses and stealing butter, and they're complaining, and so I need to teach him a lesson. And so she does it for his own good, and so this is what's most pleasing to Krishna, is when there's the love and devotion. And so it's up to us. So compensation, so offering. So we give offering to give offerings in the demigod worship. We're giving offerings to please the demigods, giving sacrifice. This is always present. And it's like giving a gift. So we give gifts to each other. We sacrifice some money, that made some time, or something that we have produced, some result, some fruit of our labor, or some fruit that we have cultivated, and we sacrifice, okay, that time that I spent working, I'm gonna use that money that I earned from that to buy a gift, and I'll offer it to this person, their birthday or whatever it is, because I want to please them. I want it to be pleased. I want to give something. I want to be pleasing to them. So that's what Brahma is saying, this compensation. So we need to give compensation. We need to return the favor. We need to be in exchange. And the recommended offering and gift to give is simply chanting Hare Krishna, Mahamantra, chanting the names of Krishna, giving him attention, giving him recognition. We all like to get attention and recognition, right? I shared about that myself. I like to get recognition. On Facebook, I made a post about that. And so what's pleasing to Krishna is when we give him our attention. We give him we're chanting his name with attention, and we're singing to him, and we're offering gifts to him, and this is pleasing. So it's a good, that's our best gift that we can offer. And so in this this time, it's important that we take shelter in the real supreme absolute truth, and reject these mundane false truths and false truth seekers. There's people that are seeking the truth, social justice warrior kind of people that are seeking the truth, but they're seeking it from material truth, from the demigods. Really, they're seeking the truth from the demigods, and we want to be there for ourselves, to protect ourselves, that we're taking shelter of Krishna, and then we're there for others to help them find the shelter. There are people who are lost, and they're more so going to be searching and looking and bewildered, and so we want to invite them into the shelter. We want to be there with an open hand, open arms, to say, come take shelter here. This is the real shelter. You're not going to find shelter out there. You're not going to find what you need out there. And it's our responsibility, and it's our service to do, and for ourselves and for others, for those that we love and care about, and for the society in general. So let me just read the verse again. Katayo matayaschaiva prayaschitam samarpanam purusaya yaverete sambara sambrita maya. Thus, I had to arrange all these necessary ingredients and paraphernalia of sacrifice from the personal bodily parts of the personality of Godhead. By invocation of the demigod's names, the ultimate goal, Vishnu, was gradually attained, and thus compensation and ultimate offering were complete. Hare Krishna. I welcome discussion and comments, questions. Challenges, criticisms, doubts, frustrations. Hare Krishna, Ramachandra.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the lecture. I connected to this part you spoke about faith, how it's so easy to believe any like Prabhupada says sometimes, any damn nonsense which people make up these days. And I'm trying to analyze this phenomenon around myself too, especially like, why is it so easy sometimes for me just to take certain belief systems for granted, regardless of how much knowledge, practical knowledge I get from them, or in general, like why we as like human society was sometimes are, overly prone to be misled by certain faith. Like what would you say around this?
Right. Yeah, you're looking at yourself and why am I so prone? Why are me and society? Why is it so easy to fall for to put faith in someone who's maybe not worthy of faith, or practically speaking, and this phenomenon. Yeah, our assumptions. Yeah, so it's our nature to put our faith into persons, to people. We're naturally want to trust and to put faith whenever somebody's in an authority position and has some level of responsibility and intelligence, then we want to put faith in them. And that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, but in this age there's cheating and mistakes and illusion. So someone who's we can think that the Bill Gates, let's talk about Bill Gates. Bill Gates, he's a demon. He's the biggest demon in the world. So, he, now, is he evil? Like, does he have necessarily evil intentions? Or does he really think he's doing good and he's not connected with the one in front of the zeros? So any big personality who's amassing billions of dollars, they're very powerful. He's a very powerful jiva soul. So he's we can look at what he must have performed, some pious activity, some kind of sacrifice. He's given some kind of sacrifice to attain this kind of position. So Bill Gates, a powerful personality, right? And but see, the thing is, anytime someone's amassing power, money, and influence, and they're not connected with the one in front of the zeros, they're not connected with Krishna and God, then any plan they have is going to be demonic, and any solution that they give is going to be a demonic solution because they're not connected with the divine nature. So these leaders, so it's good for us, and that in society, an ideal society, the kings, the administrative class, they're connected with God principles, and they encourage the citizens to do the same, and they're in consultation with the Brahmins, the priestly order. And so it's good that we want to put our faith in leadership, because that's the way the society is supposed to run. That's the way that human society is supposed to be. We should be able to put our faith in the leaders, and but they're not fulfilling their end of the bargain. They're not fulfilling their responsibility to integrating God principles into society. So in this case, we need to reject, and we need to choose where we put our faith and our trust and where we get our information. We have to be conscious about it. We have to take responsibility for it. Previous age, Vedic Varnashram system, then it's like, then the people just take shelter in the government because they trust the government, because because the king is a representative of God, and so he's worthy of that trust and taking shelter of. But in this age, it's impossible. So we just need to be careful. We need to be careful where we put our trust and our faith, and where we direct that natural propensity to trust authority, figures, and when they give information.
Oh, well, what I understand from what you said is that it's our running away from responsibility causes us to accept something on mere faith. Is that correct?
That sounds what? So you're saying I don't think I said that, but running away from responsibility to accept pure faith, to accept some authority on pure faith.
Yeah, like we are faithful by nature, but when we take to something without really ascertaining if it's true for us, it's because we are running away from a certain amount of responsibility which stands behind accepting that faith.
I like that. I don't know if I said that, but
That's what I heard
yeah, that we have responsibility to. Kara says, "God is truth." Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class. So we have responsibility. Where we're getting our information, where we're putting our trust, and where we're putting our faith, and to just blindly do it, or it's not recommended. Yeah, blind faith, blind trusting is not recommended. That's
Be responsible.
Be responsible.
Thank you, Prabhu. I appreciate your answer.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Okay.
Bhakti. I appreciated your presentation and the discussion here. And I'm seeing this conversation in the context, well, Prabhupada, he would often quote Bhaktisiddhanta, who described it's the society of the cheaters and the cheated. So it's easy to say, yeah, well, I'm the cheated and they are the cheaters. That wouldn't show a lot of wisdom or introspection. And so we're cheated or misled because we want to be. And it's, in terms of, let's say, advanced course terminology, right? We all have our masks, and it's like, I'll buy yours and you'll buy mine. It means like, I'll allow myself to be cheated by you if you allow yourself to not call me on my deceptions, because it all supports my false ego, my God project, my misidentification of the self with the body and extensions of the body. So, okay, so this is material context, human context, cheating, being cheated. And I think that's an important point to see that, well, not just like I'm victimized, I'm cheated, but also I'm dedicated to cheating others and misleading others. In the name of being a teacher, I'm dedicated to be a cheater, actually, unless I'm truly surrendered as an instrument of the Bhagavatam, of the infallible personalities, the absolute. And in this regard, I'm recalling, there's an article from like an early Back to Godhead, maybe 55, maybe even the 1940s. And Prabhupada, he's analyzing theosophy, like Madame Blavatsky and that sort of thing, which apparently was very popular in India. I think it was, maybe even Prabhupada wrote this in the 40s, like 44 or something, like during World War II. And anyhow, so Prabhupada, he gives a summary description of theosophy, and he goes, the theosophist is dedicated, and he quotes them, like he quotes one of the theosophist writers, or Madame Blavatsky, that we will not rest peacefully until there is no more oppression of the weak by the strong, and we will always shed tears as long as anyone is being oppressed and things like that, you know, by the powerful, like that. And then Prabhupada said that, yeah, that's not the Vaishnav's position. The Vaishnav's position is not to protect the weak from being oppressed by the strong. And Prabhupada writes, the Vaishnava position is to make everyone so strong they'll never be oppressed. So I find that is very profound. Of course, obviously in society there's kshatriyas, you know, there's who protect the weak and the vulnerable. I mean, there's that aspect. But Prabhupada's focusing on the transcendental aspect that we get victimized by material nature in the form of demigods or demons. We get victimized because we have material desire. Because we have material desire, it's a sure thing. We're setting ourselves up to be cheated, victimized, oppressed, misled, and it's a sure thing we're going to do the same to others. And so Prabhupada's emphasis is the Vaishnava approach is everyone is so strong in their self-realization, in their devotional connection with God, with Krishna, that they're so strong, there's no question of being victimized, of being cheated by the material energy, whether it's the material energy in the form of this person, that person, or the mind, or whatever. And so, and for me, that's very aligned with what I heard as a theme of your class. That's our strength. That's our protection. That's our protection. That we're taking shelter in infallible sources of realized knowledge, just like the Bhagavatam verse you read today. In each syllable of these verses is fully identical with the truth that it conveys. And so yeah, so that's I wanted to express that perspective there.
Thank you. Yes, so personal responsibility, to bring in the personal responsibility that we have the tendency to get cheated by authority figures, to get cheated by society because we're cheaters and we want to be cheated. The cheater, you know, the being cheated and being a cheater, those go hand in hand. And also, you know, rather to look to our responsibility is to strengthen ourselves and to support others to strengthen themselves so that to not get cheated. And that's a way to not cheat others. To not cheat others is to support them to become strong. Not that we need to try to protect them from the cheaters. It's like to help them, support them, to connect with the power, the absolute truth, the power of that connection, to be strong, to not be cheated. Not that we need to protect them from being cheated. That's the way to protect them from being cheated.
Yeah, thanks for that. Just like in ordinary relationship coaching, counseling, psychology, you know, if we're dependent on someone else, then we're setting ourselves up for resentment and hurt and to be exploited and disappointed. I mean, you know, everyone knows that, has that experience. And then so in the same way, in any way that we have a material desire, we're in the illusion that my fulfillment, my security, my living on contract, my inner peace is dependent on fulfilling that material desire, for that person to approve of me, for this recognition, for this comfort. If in any way I have an attachment to a material desire, then in the same way where it's a guarantee we're setting ourselves up to be angered, hurt, exploited, disappointment, discouraged, enraged, like that, cheated.
Okay. Cheated. Yeah, the best stance in relationship is 100% responsibility. Then my experience and my satisfaction in relationship is 100% my responsibility and 0% the other person's responsibility, and dependent on them. So same way with in society that we want to take that stance with ourselves. I'm 100% responsibility to not be cheated. Thank you, Hare Krishna. I think Dominique is raising her hand.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the class, Dr. Patrick. Over the last week or two, Gaetano and I found a source of knowledge that we liked. This man, I'm not going to say the name, whatever, but he's not mainstream media and he's not conspiracy theory. He's seems grounded, intelligent, authoritative, has some power of speech and presentation, and it just was here's the truth to the situation we're in. This is how we were feeling. And so we had this I don't speak for Gaetano, but I had a little bit of addictive feeling. I think we both felt wanted to hear more, because I feel there's something grounded here we could rely on. Also noticing we're feeling addicted to hear more from this source that seemed authoritative. And anyway, Gaetano said to me, but I think I saw a symbol in the background somewhere on that show with it doesn't matter, but the symbol that's typical for that's typically associated with more demonic projects. They use a symbol. Okay, I didn't see it, and this guy's not a part of that. He seems to be really for the truth, whatever. But whatever. Then when I heard that from Gaetano, that he saw this symbol somewhere on the set or in the background, it was really helpful. Whether I don't have to go see that symbol or not, and whether it really was there or if it was just a figment of his imagination, I don't know. But it doesn't matter. But the point is, it helped me see that I was stuck in the world of duality. This person, even though he seems intelligent, to get the truth really revealed, and it's not conspiracy. Anyway, the point is I was having a side. I was having I was picking a side of truth of all the stories, and I was picking a story and I was attaching to it. It really didn't have anything to do with God, with Krishna. And I was oh, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be attached to this guy, addicted to hearing from him. I want to be addicted to hearing from Prabhupada. And I'm gosh, why am I not addicted to it?
Right.
Why am I not part of me has that oh, I love it. I love hearing from Prabhupada, from the authority, from spiritual authority. Part of me is attached, but I want to live more I want to see my actions, my day. I want to really experience myself as faithful and thriving off of hearing from spiritual authority. I'm not quite there yet, but every once in a while, I think this morning I was praying, how can I become more addicted, I'm more attached? I'm not there, and I can be swayed by other stories, and so anyway, I just thought I'd share.
Yeah, you want to connect with that level of addiction and eagerness and attachment to hear from that you were with this source, to hear from Prabhupada like that. You want to have that in your relationship with Prabhupada. And I appreciate you sharing that about, it brings to mind another part that another thing I wanted to say and share from my speaking with this woman in the community that was whenever we follow, we might, and it's common if you look on the internet, in devotee circles, in society in general, but especially amongst devotees, it seems alternative health, alternative lifestyles. So we can get easily trapped into alternative sources of information. And of course, we don't want to read the newspapers anyway, the mainstream. But then if you turn away from the mainstream to alternative stream, then it's the same stream, the same side, right? Prabhupada said, the protesters and the military, they're on the same side, So we follow, if we follow down these rabbit holes, and I've done it myself, and I think we can all look at it, and then that whoever is giving this, they're going to have their own philosophy and their own religion and their own place where they're taking shelter in their own place where we're going to get influenced by that, even if it's not a demonic source. I mean, if it's not Krishna, then it is demonic. If it's not connected with God, then it is demonic. Even if it looks really sattvic and pious and balanced, and if it's not connected with God and with spiritual, then it's material. And if it's material and we're taking shelter of material, then that's demonic. And so we have to be very careful, even how we're influenced. Even if we just want to take information from a source, and we have to be aware that we're getting influenced by that person and their own beliefs and their own, where they're taking shelter and their parampara, wherever they're getting their information from, that we're going to be influenced by that. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, Caetano Damani.
Hare Krishna. Am I unmuted?
No, yes, I can hear you.
Hi. Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class. I appreciate it. I was connecting personally with, along with what Dominique shared, when you were expressing, seeking out information and wanting to know. I found myself the last 8 weeks or so, since everything's going on, really, wanting to know, like, well, how severe is it? How extreme is this pandemic? Is it even real? And then seeking out different sources to try to make sense of, like, what do I do practically? I have 2 children, concerned about my mom, my elderly mom, and just kind of, I could see how, like, how I was pulled into, like, such a material conception of myself, and, like, okay, what do I do on a practical level? Okay, well, I need to get food in the ground. I need food, and then, so just looking at, like, this, almost like going into, like, survival mode. Well, what do I eat if I can't grow food? What's around me in nature that's edible? I mean, it is, kind of going into, like, the extreme of, like, what possibility could happen to me materially in my family, kind of going down that road. And then, along with what Dominique shared in regards to finding this particular resource that was really grounded in just presenting, like, information from, very credible resources. Didn't seem like this news source we are looking into was taking any particular sides, but just kind of, like, presenting facts. So it felt, for a while, it felt like, oh, well, yeah, this feels more grounded resource that I can trust materially. But I, speaking for myself, I did notice that it was pulling me away from, like, my sadhana, and like, just kind of, I'm like, completing my rounds in the evening instead of in the morning or before noon, and then wanting to hear more. I don't know, I was just kind of seeing how, like, whether this pandemic is real or not, just looking at, like, how just this idea of, like, okay, emergency survival mode, right into material, like, consciousness that I go. And so I'm kind of want to hear a little bit about, like, what is it like for, especially, like, a parent, with children. It seems more like I feel like, at least I'm imagining that I'm more like, I feel urgency to figure out materially what's going to happen, since I do have children, as opposed to if I was just single, I would be like, well, if I don't have food, I'll go find it somewhere or whatever, just kind of. So I'm just kind of want to hear a little bit about, like, how does a parent stay more centered and grounded in their Krishna consciousness, when there's these material challenges come up. I guess I want to hear more about that. You could say something.
Yeah, Rebecca, you
I-
want to?
Yeah, I'd like to share on the a few things came up for me about that, Gaetano, and my experience that I've been having. So, when this all started, everyone was running to the grocery store to get toilet paper, which was so bizarre to me. Like I just couldn't understand what was happening. Like, why is everyone going to get toilet paper right now? And so I didn't want to participate. I thought, this is really silly. If we run out of toilet paper, we're going to use the shower. Like there's nothing to be concerned about. Like, I'm not worried about toilet paper. And over the past several months that this has been happening, somehow we have like more toilet paper than we need. And one of the interesting, I went to Trader Joe's last week and ended up our grocer, the person who was bagging my groceries and checking me out, he forgot to put one of the bags in the cart, and I didn't realize it until I got home. So I called them, and the man the man who was helping me, his name was Abai, and he was a devotee, and I didn't even know it. And so he got on the phone and told me he was going to bring us the bag of groceries to Alachua that night, because he lives in Alachua. And when he came with an extra bag of things for us as an apology. And one of the things in there was another package of toilet paper. So, that's a little story I wanted to share about. Yeah, I wasn't worried about toilet paper, and we have several, we've got like 24 rolls that aren't even being used yet. I don't usually have that much toilet paper on hand. And then my other story is, so I haven't been treating patients, and just until this past, several weeks. And Patrik and I were concerned, of course, about finances. I mean, I guess I wasn't overly concerned about it. But then I was contacted by several of my patients who, even though I hadn't opened up yet, they were kind of like, well, is there a way that you can give me a treatment still? And anyway, I went in to treat 3 people, and financially, that like it was like confirmation to me that like we have a quota, we have a quota, and it's going to be fulfilled. Krishna is going to fulfill the quota, and so for me, in my experience, even though there is a part of me that can really relate to what you're saying, because I too feel that the urgency to start growing food and to have a cow and to be somewhat self-sufficient. At the same time, I have this experience in this this seed of trust that's starting to grow, that is like, no matter if we live in the city or if we move to the country, far out into the country, like Krishna's going to take care of us. And we have a quota. It's like we're going to have our needs met. And so there's some, I know for me, there's some peace there. There's some peace when I really connect with that. When I connect with that trust that Krishna's going to provide for us and everything's going to be okay. And anyway, I thought I'd share that.
Thanks, Rebecca, for sharing. I'm hearing like just connecting to trust. Krishna will provide what you need. I feel like maybe it was like happening for me as like being pulled into like, oh, I need to figure it out. It's up to me. Instead of surrendering and trusting, I went the other direction. Well, I need to figure out. And I think that's like the kind of the whole basis of like trying to find out like resources that I can trust materially, because I need to know my information so I can like make decisions based off that information. I'm seeing more and more like it seems like there's more and more opportunity for me to surrender, different situations for me to surrender. It's just an ongoing theme I'm experiencing with my Krishna consciousness.
Thank you. Yeah, Rebecca had something with the kids. The kids had a problem, but yeah, I'm just reminded of a couple points that when it comes to getting information, we need information. It's like Prabhupada said, don't Sattva and Varnashram. Mama says Varnashram, Sattva and Varnashram. So we need to get information. We don't read newspapers, and at the same time, we need to get information to get our to get some needs met and things like that. So there's a principle like the swan, Hamsa. The swan can separate the milk from the water. The swan has a special quality of being able to separate the milk from the water and just drink the milk. And so Paramahamsa is like great swan, supreme swan. That's what Prabhupada and devotees are like that. They have the ability to separate the cream to get the milk for us that we need to hear. And so we can be like that, to be endeavoring for that with like information sources like that, to try to separate. If we have the more that we're grounded with Krishna consciousness and the Guru Parampara, Prabhupada's teachings, then we can kind of pick out what we need to know and what we need to hear, and the right level of information for us to do our service and to continue to keep body and soul together and like that, and to reject the part that's not going to serve us. And it takes obviously care and intention, and maybe getting feedback from others and about that process. And then also, there's the universal spiritual teaching of of God providing. God provides for the birds. Jesus taught this. Prabhupada taught this. Jesus, that the birds get enough to eat, and the beasts get enough to eat, the elephants, the animals, they always get enough to eat. They don't need to worry. Well, they probably do worry. They have kind of competition, but the thing is that they get fed. They get what they need. They're provided. They don't have to work for it. And so that's true for us. And not even just in times of feast, also in times of famine or pandemic. I think for the devotees and for us to be, we're going to be taken care of. Why not? Why wouldn't he? Ajay? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Bhakta Patrik. I appreciate the non-jargony, like down-to-earth language that you used during your class. It seemed, just like normal, as opposed to sometimes the language of the Bhagavatam seems like very far removed for me. So I appreciate the way that you distilled the essence of your sharing. And two things really stood out to me. One, when you were sharing, Krishna, everything is yours and I have nothing to give you. I would like to give you something, so please take it anyway, even though it's already yours. I found that so humbling to consider, wow, yeah, there's nothing that I could ever really give to Krishna. I could just give different things of his back to him. But it's really humbling that I really don't have anything that I could actually give him. So I appreciate the way that you presented that. And the other point that that stood out to me is when you were talking about demigod worship, and you said, okay, well, maybe none of us are creating fire pujas for Indra or whoever, but to what extent are we practicing the essence of demigod worship by following or admiring or putting our faith in a jiva soul and anybody other than Krishna who is not directly connected to Krishna? I found that very interesting, like, and I find it really interesting and like hard to like integrate that in my life, because okay, like I could look at my parents. Well, my parents aren't devotees or connected with Krishna consciousness, and I want to trust them. But then, like, okay, that could be a form of demigod worship. Or I can think about, like, if I read a book and the book is not by a devotee, then, like, if I learn from the book, say that I'm reading a personal growth book and it's not by a devotee, and like I want to practice that or incorporate that, then like, where is that line? How do I integrate this awareness of demigod worship and maybe not practicing demigod worship, and then also existing in the world where the percentage of the population that is connected with Krishna is, I don't know what percentage, but relatively tiny, it seems.
Thank you. Yeah, I think maybe somebody else could share about that. But I just mentioned, I would go back to what I just mentioned, the Hamsa principle, like the swan, being able to separate the milk from the water. So the water is be like the mundane, material content, maybe coming from some kind of demonic perspective or some kind of demonic, and we could look at that with our parents. My parents gave me, meat eating, so I don't want to just follow and, just accept everything that they gave me. They gave me meat eating. They gave me, what legacy do we take on from our parents? What's the conditioning? What's the self-defeating beliefs? We can look at those kind of things from society, from culture. What do we take on? So we don't want to just accept and take on everything, but we can look out what about the love that they gave me? They took me to church, my mom encouraged me to accept Jesus as my personal savior. And so that's like the milk. So I want to separate out the milk, like receive that, put trust and faith in that she gave me. And, the water, let me separate that out. And so same thing with books that I know Dear Govinda speaks, that he reads so many personal growth books and things like that. I don't read too many books myself, but coming when we're on the foundation of Prabhupada's teachings, then to see that as a filter, that's like the lenses that we want to see the world through Prabhupada's eyes. And the more that we associate with Prabhupada and the Guru Prabhupada, then the more that we can take that on and see with that vision. So the filter that we see through, that we can help us to take out the milk and to get what's going to help us with our service and our mission, and separate it from the part that's going to distract and divert us and maybe confuse and bewilder us. So those are things that come to mind.
Hare Krishna, I appreciate I appreciate your response. It's like coming back to that point of personal responsibility. One way that I can interpret what you shared is to be responsible that whatever information, whatever I'm integrating, I'm taking in, is aligned with my values, and then my values are to some extent or another influenced by Prabhupada and influenced by by the wisdom that he's sharing with us. And so that's a way that I can incorporate that principle of personal responsibility and then of the swan. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, I like that. Value-based, right? Value-based, based on principles, based on values. We accept and reject. Rebecca, do you want to say something again, or?
Oh, yeah, I did. I don't know. I may be interrupted, but yes, I'm just I'm really appreciating the conversation, and I wanted to share my own personal experience with what with what's happening and how I'm integrating it in my life, and at least how I'm endeavoring to integrate it. Yeah, I especially particularly in the beginning when all of this was happening, when there was a lot of I found myself going into just all of the overload of information that was coming out, and the different sides and different theories and experts, and when that's still happening. And I actually posted something on my social media about like one of these theories considered to be a conspiracy theory, and ended up over the next several days having like 40 plus comments on this what I posted, from various people who are on the complete opposite sides of each other, like saying one person saying, oh, Bill Gates is a benevolent human saving lives, and the another side was complete. So I was like, oh, this person's like evil, he's and and I felt really uncomfortable. I felt so uncomfortable that I posted that, and I felt, wow, this is not my service. Like, it is not my service to post these things. Someone else, there's plenty of other people posting these things. I'm taking this down. So I just took it down, and that really actually was impacted me so much, because I just felt more clear that about my service, that it's not that. And then also that my service is not to focus there. Like, it's not even to focus there, even though like every once in a while I have been pulled into curious about to feel curious about what's being said. And at the same time, I have this boundary that I've been really endeavoring to keep, which has been to remember to remember Krishna, but I think I'm being more successful at not going down, not placing my attention, my focus, my faith in because it feels like just this big, it just feels like all illusion, like it's all illusion. And the only real thing that I have to hold on to, the only thing that's the only truth that I have. And I think that this is, a lot of what you shared, what other people have been touching on. The only truth is Krishna, is Prabhupada. And so I guess I just wanted to share my experience. It's very reflective of what's being shared here, but I just wanted to share that because it has been really impactful for me, and as this the lockdown and all of the information that's floating around me, I'm really it's actually been serving me to remember what's most important, and to remember, like, okay, so that's not my service. And what is my service? Which I know I can speak to some of that, and I feel like there's more service, some of which I either haven't connected fully with, or then I feel shy, or not fully ready to share, or but and just even the kirtan that Mother Malini, she I felt encouragement from her for my birthday to like share our kirtan on the worldwide kirtan that was happening, and I felt like that's where I want to put my energy. That's where I want to put my energy on ways that I can serve and Krishna and Prabhupada, and not put because when I put my attention on those other things, on the other theories, or when I put my attention there, it just spirals me down into fear and confusion and panic, and then I get in my head about like maybe what I need to do, or what it's fear driven. It's not like this place of really fully connecting with, well, what's my service, and how can I deepen my service, how can I serve Prabhupada right now, and yeah, so I just wanted to share
defining your service. And we have different services. Maybe for some, to go down those information sources and present it in a Krishna conscious way, or give a Krishna conscious perspective to what's happening, and they need to research those kind of things. But for you, it's not your service. And looking at, you're in a process, and we're all in the process of determining what's part of our service. And there's some parts that aren't manifested yet, and some parts that we're realizing that's not my service anymore, or that's not my service at all, and stepping into new parts of service. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Dominique?
This may have been sort of said, but I wanted to clearly state this, that it seems like as much as we consume anything from a material source or a jiva soul, we need to, I don't know, putting this out there as a theory, we need to be consuming as much from Prabhupada or transcendental sources, because we don't have most of us, maybe all of us here, we don't have the full, pure, 100% devotional filter in front of our eyes for everything that we consume. So we really need to lean on the spiritual authorities to cultivate that vision and clarity of vision. And it's just like, I'm getting clear that at least I need to consume equal, at least 50-50, if not more spiritual input. It could be different. It doesn't have to be Prabhupada's books. It could just be kirtan or association. I'm just thinking that needs to be, that the amount of my time needs to be increasing on that, or at least equal. So,
that's like a good rule of thumb, for yourself or for others, and that we can look at our ratio of consuming,
what we associate with,
spiritual versus material. Maybe hopefully minimize material and increase spiritual, consuming. Thank you. Anyone else? Last word before we close? I thought there might have been someone else that wanted to share something. Okay. Prabhupada would often end classes just saying, please chant Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.